Welcome to another episode of Crosstalk. My name is Kevin Tocci, and I'll be your host for the next 30 minutes. Now, as you have come to expect from this particular program, we try to do our best to do programs that best suit the two communities we serve, both Whitman and Hanson. And from time to time, sometimes the topics will deal with things that are going on in town. It could be an upcoming event, it could be a special interest, it could be an election that's coming up. Sometimes we like to think outside of the box. Sometimes we like to bring in guests who are not so much to do with the two communities, but that are somewhere here on the South Shore. Maybe it's an interesting topic. I think that conversation that we're going to have today, the conversation we're going to have, kind of fits into that box. Joining me today is the co-host of Ghost Chronicles Next Generation. It's a program that you see here. It's not produced here, but it is produced by our friends over at East Bridgewater Community Television. We have Anne Kerrigan. Anne.
Hello, Kevin.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
Now, Anne is no stranger. I'm going to kind of throw her under the bus real quick here. She's no stranger to TV. She does a lot of great work with Russ Hannigan over at East Bridgewater in producing programs. And from time to time, when she has the time, once a month, she produces her own show that you see here on Whitman Hanson Community Access, as I said, called Ghost Chronicles The Next Generation. First and foremost, how did it come to be that you ended up doing this particular program?
Well, many years ago, I got into the paranormal, way back, I think around 2006, and started dabbling, had my own team, and in the course of my travels, met up with Ron Kolek, who is the creator of Ghost Chronicles. And, you know, we would cross paths from time to time and, you know, do a couple of events together here and there. So at one point, Ron had no co-host. His co-host had left Ghost Chronicles, and he called me up out of the blue one day and said, "What would you think about being my co-host on Ghost Chronicles?" And I said, "Sure, why not? Sounds like fun."
Now, have you always had an interest in the paranormal? Only 2006, or is this something that may date back further? Because myself, I have an intrigue into the paranormal, and whether it's life after, or if there are still people here amongst us, stuff like that. I mean,
I have to say, I've always been the kid who liked the ghost stories. I always was intrigued by all that kind of stuff, scary things, ghosts, anything like that. I always loved as a kid, and grew up right next to a cemetery, and I really didn't have, I was kind of on a main street where we lived, so would ride my bike in the cemetery, would play in the cemetery, so to me it was a comfortable kind of place. So I wasn't really frightened by, you know, most kids are afraid, oh, the cemetery, there's ghosts, whatever. So that was my comfort zone, I guess. So yeah, I've always been interested in the paranormal, you know, and it just kind of, I think it kind of peaked in 2000, around the 2005, 2006. That was when we had this big influx of shows. You know, we had Britain's Most Haunted, we had Ghost Hunters came about, and the public all of a sudden was, wow, what is this? You know, there was just this huge interest in it. And that's really when it kind of kicked it off for me in, you know, a big way.
is that what the show is about? Is it about ghost hunting? Is it about people talking about, you know, the paranormal, or are there other things that are part of the TV show? And the radio show, I might add.
And the radio show, yes.
The radio show.
There's the Ghost Chronicles Next Generation started as an internet radio show. And when I came on board, it used to just be Ghost Chronicles. When I came on board, it became Ghost Chronicles Next Generation because I was a new host. Ron said, you know, let's just, you know, make this a new thing for you. So it is aired on toginet.com, TOGI net.com, every Wednesday night, 7 to 8 p.m. And so that's where it started. And then what happened a few years after I became involved, Ron said, hey, you're in TV. Why don't we do a once a month live video broadcast? Again, why not? I said, why not?
It makes sense.
It makes sense. And, we have fun. The number one rule I think that Ron and I always agree on is that we're going to have fun doing this. And we do. So the actual video broadcast, if it walks the path of the paranormal, bring it on. Bring it on. You can come on our show. We've had, oh my goodness, we've had a magician / escape artist, who had like a Houdini bent, We've had authors, we've had psychics, we've had demonologists. If you're into it, cryptozoology, anything that falls in that
realm
category, in that realm.
I have to ask you a little inside baseball question, if I may.
Sure.
It's funny when you were describing, it didn't hit me until now, when you were talking about the title of the show, Ghost Chronicles Next Generation. The director of East Bridgewater Community Television didn't have anything to do with that, because I know that he is a Star Trek fan.
Yes, he is.
And anybody who is aware of Star Trek, you had the original series, and then you had the Next Generation.
That's true.
He had nothing to do with it, right?
He really had nothing to do with it. That was Ron's idea.
Okay.
Ron is also a huge science.
So it's just
science
a weird.
fiction
It's
fan.
a weird coincidence.
Yeah, it just happened.
I just want to openly apologize to the guy on camera 3 for throwing him under the bus. I just wanted to do that real quick. So what would you say it has been to date your most interesting guest that you've had on? Somebody that you couldn't get enough of, that when the hour was up, you're like, wow, that's it?
Oh, wow. Jeez,
Is that an unfair question? Because you probably want to say the politically correct thing would be like, oh, they're all
which
that
is
way.
to say they're all amazing.
They are all
They're
amazing.
all amazing.
But
They are all amazing.
there's some you like.
Honestly, and I think it was like our third show, we had Jeff Belanger on. Kudos to Jeff if he's watching. He's probably not, but hey, anyways. Jeff Belanger is such a prolific guy. I mean, he's an author. He does lectures. He works behind the scenes, Paranormal State. He's everywhere. And someone I have a lot of respect for, but he is intriguing to talk to.
How so?
He's
Why
just
would you
so well versed. He's been in the paranormal for so long. He just is just such a wealth of information. And that hour flew, and you could talk about absolutely anything with Jeff, and he's just highly entertaining and intelligent, and he's a great guest, and that was an hour that just flew by.
Now, I also, other than being somebody who does a regular TV/radio show, you also had a little bit of an appearance in a movie that was shot here on the South Shore too, right?
Woo! I had my 15 minutes of fame. Woo! Well, maybe 3 minutes. But yes, I was in. I am in the Bridgewater Triangle documentary.
What was that like?
Well, that was fun. That was Aaron Cadieux and Manny Familare, the producers of the film, approached me and said, would you be interested, because so many things happen, so many things happen in East Bridgewater. And it's a big part of the Bridgewater Triangle. So they said, would you like to talk a little bit about your investigations? Because I did used to have a paranormal investigative team, which again started back around 2006, called East Bridgewater's Most Haunted. And we did quite a few investigations in East Bridgewater. So they said, can you come on and give us your opinion about hauntings in the Triangle? And we went down, we filmed it in front of the Hobart plot in Central Cemetery,
Sure.
the old graveyard, if you will, in East Bridgewater. So that was fun, and I was so excited and honored to be included in that movie.
And it wasn't, and that was a movie that wasn't taken lightly. It's
No.
movie. I think is probably the wrong word because it was more.
It's a documentary.
It was a documentary that has been well received. People have turned out to see it. They've flocked, and I believe that it's still showing a year later.
Yes, actually, and it's been picked up by Destination America, and they're going to be actually airing it in September. I believe September 5th. It's the Labor Day weekend. Sorry.
Keep an eye on that.
Sorry, I should have been better. I should have written down that date. But they picked it up. They're going to show it in its shortened version. They had to cut about an hour out of it. So I don't know if I'll make that final cut.
Oh.
Would be cool if I did. I kind of think I'm not going to.
Why?
Because I think there's a lot of information in that documentary.
But you wouldn't be a redundancy where they would have to cut you.
No, but I think that the real crux of the Bridgewater Triangle is more in the history.
Yep. King Philip's and all that.
Yep, King Philip's War, and so I think that they'll probably want to touch on that more than local hauntings. That's my thought.
Fingers crossed, though, right? Fingers crossed.
I know.
Did you make it in? Let's kind of get right back to we don't want to get away from the particular show itself, which I've actually had an opportunity a couple of times. You've needed someone to fill in and direct. So I've actually seen the nuts and bolts of it. You do something that's very, very cool. It's a produced piece that you have that's contained within the program itself called Cemetery Tripping. What's that all about?
Cemetery tripping is my baby. I love old cemeteries, and there's no place better to find a good old Puritan cemetery than Massachusetts. I mean, it's kind of where it all began. I love the carvings. I'm about the carvings on the stone, the symbolism, the artistry. That's what I love.
Lost art.
Yes, and it really was an art form. The stone cutters of the day, late 1600s, early 1700s. Those are my favorites. There's skulls with wings and cherubs and Father Time and death. There's just so much. So I started taking pictures in cemeteries as it's still a hobby. It's my hobby. There's an old cemetery, I'm going to stop. Sorry, honey. And my husband goes, oh no, not again. But
when a new one pops up, you decide you're going to make a trip there.
Yes, if I can find an old cemetery and I have some time, I'm so there. So, Cemetery Tripping, it's on Facebook. It's just a Facebook page. I don't have a website, but I do a little vignette, if you will, of a particular cemetery that I'll choose on every Ghost Chronicles Next Generation show. And so I'll just talk about that during the show and put up photos that I've taken and history. And if you're interested, hop on Facebook, find me, like the page, and just check out my pictures. It's a sharing format. It's just what I enjoy.
What's the furthest cemetery that you have traveled to that's dated out, or is it concentrated here in Massachusetts, in the Commonwealth, the South Shore?
I'm predominantly in the South Shore area. We used to camp in Central Mass, so I've been to quite a few old cemeteries out there, like in the Rutland, Brookfield area. But the cemeteries in the Boston area are stellar. They're the best. There's a couple really great ones in Bolton, out in Central Mass. So I find them where I can. I've been down.
What goes through your mind when you see certain stones? I mean,
Oh.
myself, you were talking about growing up next to a cemetery. I also, for a number of years, lived next to a cemetery and would kind of walk through and kind of wonder when I saw certain dates. If I see that somebody might have lived for 25 years, that like going, ooh, I wonder what happened if it's something that took place in the 1700s or the 1800s. You wonder if you see a whole family that happens to be.
See it a lot. Yeah.
That they're all together, and you go, I wonder. You know,
such a high death rate among children back then, and there wasn't any medicine. And sometimes I run across a family plot like that, and you can see, you know, this one lived 6 months, 2 years, 3 years, 8 weeks. You know, it's
sad.
And we're very particular back then at the precise amount of time that you spent on this earth. So, you know, somebody might have lived, 54 years, 6 months, 8 days. They would put that on the stone. You were accountable for every second that you were on this earth, and I think that's cool. That's a cool thing. But it's very interesting to read those stones.
Let's do a little slideshow. Would you indulge me?
Absolutely.
You were kind enough to send us about 75 photos. I'm kidding. There's a bunch. If you would, we got Paul Watson in the room. As we kind of go through these,
yes.
You can kind of give us a breakdown in each one. So what's the first one that we see here?
This first one, this is Ron Kolek and myself.
Partner in crime, yeah.
Yep, my partner in crime and fun, literally. This was our Halloween show from last year, and that's Ron and I were all duded up in our steampunk outfits because any opportunity for us to dress up, we will absolutely take it. And this particular show, we talked a lot about Ouija boards. Our good friend Robert Murch collects them, and we kind of enjoy dabbling ourselves. That is a Ouija board made for little girls.
It's pink, so I would think that it's, and it is
Barbie pink.
Okay.
Although it's not a Barbie product, so.
All right, sorry, Mattel.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go to the next slide, if you will.
And this is when I first started with Ghost Chronicles Next Generation. That's Kieran O'Keefe on my left, Kieran O'Keefe on my right, your left. So anyways, he's from Britain's Most Haunted, which was a show that I was hugely interested in when I first started in this field. But really nice guy. He had come over to lecture with Ron.
Next slide, please.
This is at the Houghton Mansion with the tall fellow is Mike Markowitz, then Ron, myself, and Josh Mantello, who used to run paranormal investigations at the Houghton Mansion, and that is in North Adams, Massachusetts. Unfortunately, I don't think Josh is now affiliated with Ventford Hall in Lenox, Mass. But another very interesting guy, Josh, in the paranormal world.
Next slide, please.
And if I can just throw in, before I explain this next slide, in the last slide, I mentioned the tall guy, Mike Markowitz, very good friend of mine.
East Bridgewater guy too, huh?
Yes, also East Bridgewater. He does my EVP work, electronic voice phenomenon. A lot of knowledge about that field, so did not want to overlook Mike. This slide we're looking at now is at the Lizzie Borden house.
Fall River?
In Fall River. Myself and Ron and Leanne Wilbur, who's the proprietor of that establishment, also does paranormal tours.
Okay. Next slide, please.
This is Ron and I in jail.
Interesting.
Because we're always up to no good. This was an investigation we did at a Cambridge jail. They were renovating, and we went in and did an investigation one cold night. It was a very cool spot.
And you locked the keys. You had locked the keys outside of.
Yes, yeah. We actually had to crawl into that cell. I
No
don't
way.
even know. Yeah, I don't even know how we got in. We had to crawl in. There was a hole in the bottom. We crawled in.
Okay. Next slide, please.
Any opportunity for a photo. This is at the Haunted Victorian with Edwin Gonzalez, myself and Ron, which actually was just sold, but has been a very big, it's in Gardner, Mass, paranormal destination for teams for years. But look for more to come on that.
Next slide, please.
Again, back at the Houghton Mansion. This is quite a cast of characters here who appeared at the one of our weekend. It was a weekend-long investigation out there at the Houghton Mansion, and I believe I see Andrew Lake, Jeff Belanger, Tim Weisberg, Matt Moniz, and Darkness Dave in the front, who out on the East Coast has a paranormal show, talk radio show.
Next slide, Mr. Watson.
Okay, now this was another weekend event we did down in Oneida, New York, at another Victorian mansion, and now the names just went right out of my head.
Okay.
Haunted B&B. It's actually now gone back to a private residence, but another fantastic home that we investigated.
Next slide, please.
Ron and I at America's Stonehenge, we just recently went up there, and that will be a discussion for a future show. Did a little investigating up there. Very cool place in Salem, New Hampshire.
Okay. I think this should be our final one.
We
have one being told.
This is our last year, our 1 year anniversary of Ghost Chronicles Next Generation, our number 12 show.
Oh.
So we had a big celebration. I made a big cake, and we just had a little celebratory year in review kind of show. So.
All right. So we're back here in the studio with Anne Kerrigan. I guess I want to ask, other than what you guys do in the studio, I believe there's something called the New England Ghost Project. What is that?
The New England Ghost Project is Ron Kolek's paranormal investigative team. And if you'd like to visit them or find any information, it's neghostproject.com. I investigate with them quite often. I'm kind of a quasi-member, but they invite me when they can to do their investigations, and we have a ball.
So what do you do? What's so like the team breaks out? Who's on what? What exactly are you doing? And what are you looking for? Are you listening for stuff? Is it photos? I mean, what is it?
It's everything. It's all of the above. All of the above. Basically, as with most investigations, you go in, you basically wire the place with cameras, recording equipment. He has a psychic, Leslie Marden, on his team. Myself, just as an investigator. So we've done a haunted roller rink. We've done the jail. So wherever we end up.
And what fruit do you bear from these investigations? Have you had? I mean, did you talked about a haunted roller skating rink? Did you actually hear like wheels skating across from for half a second, stuff like that?
I did not. We did have quite a few. We had a couple of psychics with us that night who had some really interesting things that correlated, between the two of them. Yep. We actually all threw on roller skates and went and skated for a little while, and hoping we'd stir up some ghostly activity.
Skate town action going on.
Yeah, so we're looking for, it's just, the Paranormal Quest is about your personal experience, because no matter what photograph you show, what recording you play, there's so many people are just going to say, why should I believe you? Oh, you photoshopped that. I mean, it's about what happens to you personally, what you felt.
And people who were there with you.
What you saw, right.
People who were there with you.
Right.
Because you guys all experienced it together.
Yeah, it's nice if you have that validation, And I think, in the end, the thing that you lean on the most is your own experience, your own personal experience.
Now, what's cool here is that you get to talk with us not only about the project itself, but as though the slideshow wasn't enough, you even brought more props.
Oh, I did.
She walked in first day there was like a fancy schmancy camera or something. She goes, no, it's far better than that. So please tell us what is inside your kit.
All right, this is my little paranormal investigative kit. It's just my little kit that I grab when I go out the door. If I'm going to go on an investigation, it's all in one spot. So there's a few tools of the trade that people use. The first thing I think, and the thing people will be most familiar with, is my little K2 meter.
What does that do?
The K2 meter measures...
Hold that right up so they can see it like this. Yeah, there you go, like that.
Like that?
There you go, yeah.
Okay.
And then our guy on camera 3 can get it.
Get that guy on camera 3. The K2 meter measures electromagnetic field. So we spend a lot of time making fun of the K2 meter, actually.
Like what? What type of
Ron
things?
and I.
What kind of things do you
Well,
say?
the thing with the K2 meter is that it can be manipulated really easily.
It looks like a guitar tuner.
Yeah, it's got little. Yeah, it does. It's got little, LED lights.
Yeah, show it right
I
there.
want
Yeah,
to show that again. Okay, there we go. And they light up green to red, right across the board, depending on your level of electromagnetic field. So what the thought behind that is when you have, some kind of spirit interaction, it's going to, suck that electrical field from anything around it, and you're going to read it here. So this also works though on cell phones. If you have a cell phone, if you put it next to your cell phone, it'd light up like Christmas tree. So a lot of things can set it off. It's easily manipulated.
We got about 3 minutes left,
Okay,
so if you will, what else? What other essential tools? If you kind of just go through them quickly.
Well, let's see. You have to have a leopard flashlight. That's
a
just
must.
You have to have a flashlight.
That's a must.
I enjoy pendulums for communicating. This is my favorite pendulum, and pendulums are a form of dowsing, and you can get a yes or a no answer from the pendulums. I have
Multiple pendulums.
I have a pendulum problem. I'm sorry. I'll admit it.
She's the collector of
I
pendulums.
have a pendulum problem, and I have more at home. So basically, you ask questions.
If you go to the flea market, you're someone who's the first thing you're looking for is a new pendulum.
Maybe.
Right? Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
But basically, it's another form of spirit communication. You're asking yes or no questions and hopefully getting a response from beyond. That's the gist of that. And, a couple other things in here, and, a temperature gauge.
Oh, that's always important.
Point and shoot. So
We got like 2 minutes left.
okay, I know. That flew by.
Let's give the essential. I told you, this thing flies.
I know.
Give the essential. If folks want to find out about the show, if they want to find out about Ghost Chronicles Next Generation, they want to contact you. Maybe if somebody out there who might be a good guest, like, and they want to.
Sure. We do not have a website, but you can contact us. We have a Facebook page, which is Ghost Chronicles Next Generation. And hop on there and like us. You can message us through there. You can get a hold of me at, I work at East Bridgewater Community Television, as Kevin mentioned.
As I mentioned, yeah.
Anne, ANNE_Kerrigan at ebctv.org. And I'd be happy to talk to you.
Well, I want to thank you so much for
You're so welcome.
being a
Thank
guest.
you. I really enjoyed it.
We'll have to have you and Ron come back.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
To talk more. And do you have any upcoming events you want to quickly throw out there? We got 30 seconds.
We have Spirit Quest coming up the weekend. I believe it's September 18th.
Yep. And
it's up in Groveland, Mass, at the VC Estate. So you can get more information on that at neghostproject.com. And I'll be there, Ron will be there, and a host of other people. Paranormal people.
Paranormal people. Well, folks, that's all the time that we have. And it was a fantastic conversation that we had with Anne, and somebody who, again, works in another area, works in community access, and also is a contributor to what you see here on WHCA. Until next time, have a great day.